Betty Wiseman Alloy. I was born 2/7/27 in Omaha, Nebraska, Swedish Mission Hospital. My mother and my dad, Sarah Bernstein Wiseman, and my dad, Samuel Wiseman. Um, we lived at 3522 North 16th. I have two brothers. One is Benjamin Wiseman and the other is Dan Wiseman. And I have one sister who is Ann Wiseman Wolfson. Um,
Tell me about your dad. Was he born here in Omaha?
no, he was born in Romania. And he was in the Navy in, I believe it was 1918, if I'm not mistaken. And my mother was born in Russia.
Do you have any idea how they ended up in Omaha?
No, I don't remember. I think, I can't remember the city that my dad went to when he came to the United States. Was it Baltimore? I believe in Baltimore. And I don't know how he got to Omaha. I believe maybe his brother had a brother, Nate Wiseman, and a sister, Clara Wishnow, and another sister, Minnie Tuckman was her name, married name. And I'm trying to think, I don't know how they got to Omaha, but
Did they have any relatives living here when they came over?
I don't believe so. I don't know how they got here even. But anyway, they all ended up, the sisters and the brothers all ended up here, except Clara Wishnow. And she married a Wishnow, and then her son became famous. He was a violinist and in Lincoln they lived, and he was the head of the music department at the university there.
And how about on your mother's side?
On my mother's side was, let's see, she had three sisters. She had Ann Brick was the baby, and then there was, what was her name? Ida Borson, and Jenny Epstein, and Rebecca Bieber. Those were her sisters. And she had one brother named William, but he died very young.
Do you have any idea how your mother and dad met?
I don't know who introduced them to each other. He was still in the Navy, though. And I have pictures of her in her wedding gown, and it's so beautiful. She was so young, and he was so handsome in his Navy uniform.
Were they married here in Omaha?
Yes, they were. They had a big wedding, and I'm trying to think. She was a tomboy. She played baseball. I remember. She was a real tomboy. Her mother used to get so angry at her. And what else can I think of?
Did your father's parents come over here?
Yes, his father's parents did come over here. And I remember my grandfather, I was just very tiny, but he lived high on a hill on, was it 19th? It was a tall hill, a big house on the hill that he lived in. He was a watchmaker, and he was also, he was very handy. He baked things, delicious things, and he made me a pair of bunny shoes when I don't think I was maybe 3 years old, and I used to sit on his lap, and he used to call me his little Kachkula, and I must have blabbed a lot because, and he was a kind man. He was so good.
And how about on your mother's side?
On my mother's side,
her parents
was I don't remember my grandfather, but then my grandmother Rose Bernstein, and the grandfather was Daniel. He died before I was born, and she married a Hershon man, yeah, and they lived on, I believe it was 19th and Burdette, and we used to go run from the back of her house to the grocery store, which was right in back of her house. And I remember when I got older, maybe 6 or 7, she used to send me to the grocery store. Of course, everything was safe then, and I used to run to the grocery store for her. And
did they speak Yiddish at home?
yes, they did, and I could understand them. I don't know how or what, but I used to understand them, and she'd send me to the store, and she'd tell me what she wanted, so I could tell the grocer. And I think the grocery people were Jewish also, though.
Johnson.
Johnson was their name. And trying to think. There were Jewish people that lived around there too, around her, but I don't remember their names.
I want to hear about your sisters and brothers.
I don't know too much about them. When we were in high school, my sister and I both went to Central High School. My brother, Dan, went to North, and Ben went to Central also. And Ben and I were like twins. Wherever I was, he was, and wherever he was, I was. We were shadows. And I remember once when we were in grade school, I was in 8th grade, and he always got out before I did because he was in a lower grade, and he'd come up to the room and wait for me so we could walk home together because we were a long ways from school. I think it was about 10 blocks or 11 blocks, and he came up, and we were in session. The school, our room was in session, and the teacher, Miss DeVore was her name, and she asked him who he was here for, and he says, "I'm here for my little sister, Betty Wiseman." Oh, I almost fell through the floor. All the kids laughed. And anyway, we did walk home, but I was so mad at him.
Where did you live at that time?
We lived on North 16th, 3522 North 16th.
And what school was this you were going to?
We went to Lothrop School, and that was quite a ways from where we lived, but we made it all right. And a lot of kids lived in our neighborhood, so we had a pretty good group there.
Was that at the time when you made 4 trips a day?
Yes.
Did you go home for lunch?
We unless it was snowing and very cold, then anybody that lived more than, I guess, 8 blocks could bring their lunch. And so we would bring our lunch when it was real cold. And of course we got cold and wet from going through the snow, but that we didn't know any better, and it was fun. And we used to go to Kuntz Park to ice skate. And every day after school, as soon as we could, we'd run home, change clothes, and go ice skating at Kuntz Park. And
How did you get there?
we walked. We walked every place. And then in the summer, we played tennis there. And Rosalind Epstein used to come, and we'd play tennis. She and my sister and I and Lois Siegel, who is married to Bob Endelman now. And she was our neighbor, Lois, and her folks. And Floyd Cookland lived there too. and the Rimmermans, Bobby Rimmerman and Al Rimmerman, and there was quite a few Jewish people in our neighborhood. And of course, we walked every place. That's all we knew, or we roller skated. And
Was this during the time when your father had the grocery store?
yes, yes. And you know what? In the evenings, in the summertime, we had a wagon out by the side of the store, and my mother would sit in the wagon, and Lois Siegel would come, and my sister and myself, and sometimes Easter, who was her brother, came, and we'd sit and we'd talk by the hour. And of course, when my mother got busy in the store with Daddy, he'd call her in, and she'd have to go in, but we'd sit out there and drink pop, have a swig pop. I remember the name of that. And gee, we had a good time. Those were the good old days.
What day of the week was your father closed?
A Sunday. It was a blue law or something. They had to be closed on
No, it was on Shabbos.
he was open on Sunday, so he closed it on Saturdays. But then either Saturday or Sunday, you know.
On the day that he was closed, what was family life like?
Oh, he would take us to Carter Lake at 5 in the morning, and boy across the street, Ross Shotwell, and my brother and my sister and I, and sometime when my cousin Pearl Brick would come for vacation at our place, we'd all go at 5 in the morning to Carter Lake and swim, and the fish would go between our feet. Oh, it was terrible. But we thought that was fun. And I'm trying to think, we had a good time, and we thought it was fun anyway at that time. We didn't have to have a lot of money.
What synagogue did you go to at that time?
Rosh Hashanah
And that was where?
on Chicago Street. And that was our synagogue. We belonged there, and my brother Ben got bar mitzvah there. I forgot the name of the rabbi. Moshowitz, I think it was. Rabbi Moshowitz. And, gee, I'm trying to...
What were holidays like at home?
Oh, they were wonderful. Oh, they were wonderful. The house smelled so wonderful, the cooking. My mother used to cook and bake. And of course we tried to help, but we got in the way. I remember one time when my mother was making eierkichel, she made pecan rolls, out of this world. And he took a piece of dough, and he was playing with it, and he threw it up on the ceiling, and it stuck up there. Oh, she got so mad at him, she went and got the broom and took it down. And she said, "You get out of the kitchen, stay out of the kitchen." But, that was good times.
When your dad had the store, were you able to sit down at night and have a meal together, or was that tough?
No, you know what? We had a meal, but then when he would close, maybe at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, then he'd come in, and Mother would make broiled steak, and we'd have broiled steak and French fries and salad at 9 o'clock at night, and we thought that was wonderful. And I'm trying to think.
Was your brother, not Ben, but your other brother?
Dan.
Was he older?
Yes.
Was he the oldest?
Oh, yeah, he was the oldest. Was he about 6 or 7 years older than I was? And he went to North High, and he graduated, and then he went into the Navy. He worked for a while, and then he joined the Navy, and then after the Navy, he was it the Coast Guard?
Yeah.
he went in and he became an officer. And then he used to recruit fellas. He was a recruiter in was it Fort Omaha at that time or something where, and he recruited
Did he
fellas.
stay in then for a long time
Yes, he was in
30 years.
30 years,
and retired?
and he retired. Yes,
Did he marry?
yes, he married a girl named Lucille Hirsch from Red Oak, Iowa, and they, gosh, she just passed away about 8 or 9 years ago, and he lives in the South now. His children, he had 4 children, and they moved to the South, and that's where he lives now.
Do you remember his children's names?
Bill and David and
Jonathan.
Jonathan, and his daughter name was, what was her name?
Nikki.
Mickey. Mickey was her name. And I think we have a picture of them when they lived in Omaha, and they came to our house. And we on Sunday, our house was the place. Everybody came to our house, and Sammy would cook out, and we had a big picnic table, and everybody sat down. My brother and his 4 kids, and Ann, and her husband, and their 3 kids.
Tell me about Anne.
Well, her husband, his folks had a store, Abe's
Trading center.
Abe's Trading Center on
58th and Center.
58th and Center, yeah. And he worked for his parents, and they lived on Dorcas Street. And we used to go and visit them. And he had a truck, and there was a truck, that they delivered groceries in, so he got to take it home. So then he would take us home at night when he'd get off work.
What are his children's names?
His children's names are Donna Ray Court, who's married to Stephen Court, and Laverne Feingold, who was married to Robert Feingold, and Donna Ray. I said Donna Ray, I think.
And Louis.
Oh, Louis Wolfson, who was married to Renee. Forgot her last name, but
Hirsch.
yeah, Hirsch was her last name. And their 3 kids were married. And my daughter, we have a daughter named Roxanne McGuan now, and she's married to Terrence McGuan, and they have a daughter named Sarah Ann McGuan, and they live in Mokina, Illinois, and
Bill.
and we have Bill Alloy. He's a hospital administrator, and they live in Greensburg, Indiana.
What's his wife's name?
And his wife's name is Janet Handelman Alloy. And then we have another son, David Alloy, and he's married to Carol, and they live here in Omaha.
And how about Ben's family?
Ben has 4 beautiful, handsome, tall boys. And one is William, and that's the youngest, and he was just married October the 16th, and he married a girl from New Jersey, and her name is Marilyn. And then he has another son named Stephen, and he lives in Washington, and he's not married. That's the next to the youngest. And then they have David Wiseman, and he is married to Cynthia Epstein, and they have 2 boys. And then there's Mark. He's the eldest of the 4 sons, and he has 3 boys and a girl. And Mark and David work for their father, Ben Wiseman, and Stephen is in Washington, Seattle, Washington. And what else should I tell you about?
Now your son that lives in Omaha, what does he do?
He has business of his own. He's Alloy Enterprises, and he has snow removal and lawn service. And he has no children, but he has 3 little doggies, and they're his children.
How did you meet your husband?
How did I meet? When I was a freshman in high school, and Danny Goodman introduced us, and that's how I met him. And then he used to come to the house. Danny Goodman had a car, but Sam didn't have a car, so he used to walk back and forth from his house on 19th and Corby and to North 16th, 3522 North 16th. And he would walk back and forth. And we would sit on our front porch. And of course there were a lot of other Jewish kids around that would come. And we'd all sit on our front porch and talk. And we had a good time. We thought that was a lot of fun. Just sitting and talking.
Did you go with him during high school then?
Yes. Not continually, but we dated. And I'd see him every day at school. And when I'd get mad at him, because he would meet me at business training, he'd wait there until I'd come. But when I got mad at him sometimes, I would go around the other way, walk the long way, and he'd have to go because his classes, we'd be late for his class. So I did that several times.
Why would you get mad at him?
I don't know, just silly little things. So, and I remember on our first date, I said, I'm not going to kiss you on our first date. And when it came time to him bring me to my door, I said, I changed my mind. And you know what? I gave him 2 candy kisses. And I ran in the house.
What was his reaction?
Oh, he was shocked. So when I saw him, he says, next time they're not going to be candy kisses.
He wanted the real thing.
Oh, yes, he was there for the real thing. And I never kissed on a first date anyway. We didn't do that in those days.
What did your parents think of him back in those years?
They thought he was a nice, young, quiet man. At first they thought he wasn't Jewish because he was blonde and fair. And they didn't think he was Jewish. So, but when the other Jewish fellows would come around, then they knew he was Jewish too. So that's the way we...
What did you do when you finished high school?
When I finished high school, I went I worked at Orchard and Wilhelm and I was a bookkeeper. And I worked there for a long time, and then also as a part-time job when the Kresge's was open in the evenings from work. I'd get off at 5, and then I'd go work at Kresge's until they closed in the candy counter. And everybody was my friend then. Everybody came to the candy counter because Betty was there. And I was there until, well, I got married. And I worked for Orchard William for a year or so after I got married. And then I had my baby, Billy, the first. And then when he got old enough, they wanted me to come back to work as the bookkeeper. And my sister Ann was nice enough to babysit for me so that I could work during Christmas when they needed me. And then it got too much for Ann because she started having her family too. So then I had to quit.
When you were working at Orchard William, how'd you get back and forth to work?
Streetcar. The streetcar used to come. And then, the streetcar. That's what I took all the time.
And how close would it take you to home?
Right in front. Left me off right on the corner of 16th and Evans.
How much was car fare in those days?
I think you got 6. When we went from high school, we got a card, and if you got on for a nickel, and if you didn't have a card, I guess you could buy 6 tokens, and for a quarter, and go that way.
Betty, tell me about Sam when he went into the service. Did you guys correspond?
Yes, we did. I was still in high school, and he had graduated, and he went in the service, and we corresponded. And then one day, when I went to the movie, and I saw this movie, Diana Durbin, she was in it, and Lady on the Train was the name of the movie, and she sang Always, I'll be loving you always. And I wrote to Sammy, and I said to him, I told him that I saw this movie, and Deanna Durbin sang this song, Always. And at the same time, he had written me, because he had seen it when he was up in the Aleutians, the same movie with her singing that song. And our letters crossed. And that's how our song became ours. It's Always. And whenever we go any place, Sam always asks that to be played, even at our nephew's wedding in New Jersey this year. And they played it for us, and we danced to it. And it's something that we just will never forget.
Do you remember his homecoming when he came home from the service?
Yes, I do. I think his cousin was in town at the time. She lived in New York, and we went to the station, Union Station, at that time, and we met him at the station, and he was in his little sailor suit. And he looked so cute, and I knew that I loved him then, and I was just so happy to see him. And then I forget how long it was before, it was in the winter time though, I know, and we got engaged, and he said that he had bought me the ring, and his aunt helped him pick it out. And I said, oh, that was nice. And I said, he says, well, we're going to get engaged. And I said, well, you have to ask me first. and he had to ask my dad. My dad said yes. So anyway, it was a cold, snowy winter night. And I said, why don't you get the ring and we can get engaged tonight? He says, well, my mother's having a dinner Sunday and she wants us to get engaged then. And I said, no, I want you to give me my ring when we're alone. So he went and we walked through the snow. It was, I think, knee deep and so cold. But we went to his house from my house and he got the ring and we got engaged. And the next day at his mother's house, I think she was a little angry, but we didn't care anyway. We were happy. And then she had dinner for my folks and us and Harry and Doris. And that's how we got engaged.
Did you get married shortly thereafter?
We were engaged, we got in December, we were married in June. June 2nd, 1946.
Did you go away on a honeymoon?
We went to Lake Okoboji and we rented a cabin. I have never been to a cabin before, and I think it was near twilight when we got there. And we opened the door, and there were spiders, thousands of spiders on the ceiling. Oh, I screamed bloody murder, and Sam got the broom and started smacking the spiders. I'll never forget that. I couldn't sleep because I was thinking the spiders are going to come down to get me. And every night after that, I think we were there at that place for 3 days. And I said, every night when we came in, he'd have to smack the spiders down. I said, I can't take it anymore. We got to get out of here. And we left there. And one morning we got up, and it was such a beautiful morning. The sun was shining, but in the first part of June, it's still cool out. And we went, and they had a lake there. And Sam said, well, he's going to take a dip. And he ran into the lake, and he ran so fast in, but twice as fast coming out. It was freezing cold. And he stood there shivering, and I said, here, put the towel on you and get in the cabin. It was so funny to see him.
What are your memories of the actual wedding? Tell me about
Wedding. Toby Kagan was the ceremony at that time, and she would tell the people when to walk down. We had a large wedding. I think there was maybe, what do you think, about 100, 150? And we had a wedding reception. And my brother's, Danny, my older brother, Danny's little girl, walked down. She was a flower girl, and she walked down. And I think Sam's cousin from New York was maid of honor. I can't remember who else. I know
Anne was matron.
my sister Ann Wilson was matron. And
Fred Sherman.
what?
Fred Sherman, Harold's wife. She was in the wedding.
Oh, Gertrude Sherman, yes. She was my bridesmaid too. And then after the wedding, we had a reception. And
Went to Peony Park.
then after the reception, we, I think about 3 or 4 other couples, we all went to Peony Park and we danced. And golly, we stayed there, and I think we closed the Peony Park up. And then everybody went home, and we stayed at the motel that was on
78th and Dodge.
78th and Dodge. It was a big motel. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, we stayed there for our first night. And then from there, the next morning, we went home, and we had an apartment upstairs of my folks' house on 16th and Evans. We had a 2-bedroom apartment and bath, kitchen and bedroom. And we were there for a few months, and then we found an apartment. We finally found an apartment at where the old University of Nebraska used to be, on 24th and Pratt.
You don't know.
And we got an apartment there, thank goodness. But it was only a 1-room, a bedroom, and a small kitchen and a living room, big living room. And we lived there. And then, as it was very hard to find apartments at that time because of the war and the boys coming home. And anyway, we finally got a 2-room apartment, and we had our son in this 2-room apartment. And then I was pregnant. We had another little boy, which was David. And when he was 3 months old, we found a nice little home, and we bought a home on 52nd and Reese. And we lived there for, gosh, I think, how many years did we live there? I can't remember how many years, how old the kids were when we moved from there. But then we found a duplex on 42nd, 46th and Farnham Street. And we bought that duplex, and we lived on one side, and we had another lady on the other side. And we lived there. And then we bought the grocery store. And we all worked in the grocery store. We all grew up in the grocery store on 16th and Evans. And we had that grocery store for, what, 9 years?
10 and a half.
And our kids grew up in the grocery store like I did. Then, trying to think, after the grocery store.
Did you get out of the store during those bad years?
We were in there, we were held up once, and after that, and we did have the windows broken when the king got killed, and they broke our windows, and seemed like every Saturday night at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, the police would call us and tell us that they'd meet us on Cumming Street and bring us in to where the store was to see, and wait until the police came and they fixed the windows and things, and we could go home. And that got kind of tiresome after a while. And so I told Samuel, I think we've had it. I think we better just sell out what we can and get out of here, because it's just too dangerous anymore. When we first moved in, they were all white people, and then all came the black people, and bad ones, not good ones. So that was our time to go while we were still alive and kicking. So we got out of there. And then from Farnham Street, didn't we move to 58th?
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven North 58th Street by the
Memorial Park.
Memorial Park there, a couple blocks from there. And we lived there for 15 or 16 years, and the kids grew up there. Billy went away to college. When he came home, we had moved from Farnham Street, and when he finally found us, he says, "How come you didn't tell me we moved, Mom?" I said, didn't you know we were trying to get rid of you? Anyway, we lived there for about 16
Had
years.
a great big pit in the bin there.
And we had a pin in the bin there. And it was for Donna Court's little boy. And Rabbi Kripke officiated, which was lovely. It was
There's
a,
been 150 people there.
yeah, there were about 150 people there. And it was a big home, and we could handle them very nicely. And it was a good house. We had good times there. It was wonderful.
What were holidays like growing up with your children?
Oh, they were wonderful. We all got together, and of course, when my mother and dad were alive, they came too. It was always over to Aunt Betty's house. My sisters and my sister and my brother Benny and all their kids, and it was a wonderful time. No problems. Closing, I'd like to say I love my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren. How much I love them dearly. God bless you all.